What we desire already exists. Reaching out for help is one of the greatest signs of wisdom, not weakness, wisdom. Welcome to Plenty. I'm your host, Kate Northrup, and together we are going on a journey to help you have an incredible relationship with money, time, and energy, and to have abundance on every possible level. Every week, we're going to dive in with experts and insights to help you unlock a life of plenty. Let's go fill our cups.
Please note that the opinions and perspectives of the guests on the Plenty podcast are not necessarily reflective of the opinions and perspectives of Kate Northrup or anyone who works within the Kate Northrup brand.
Hello and welcome to Plenty. This is the first episode that I'm recording in my new home office/studio. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my beautiful background. I hired a fabulous woman to style my shelves and I'm so excited for this new setup. If you're listening on a podcast app on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's worth going over to YouTube to see the video version because the visuals are stunning and also very meaningful. Maybe at some point I'll do a walkthrough of what all the pieces back there mean, but you can check them out. Let's get into it. Today, we're diving into the most overlooked yet most effective way to get our needs met and to open up and unlock the abundance and resources that are already available but are just out of arm's reach because of the way we are showing up and because of us not being able to see the resources and the abundance that is always available to us. One thing to start out with, when it comes to manifesting or calling in what it is we desire, it's really important to remember that what we desire already exists. It's not that it has to be created fresh and like we are manifesting it, quote unquote, out of nothing. What we want already exists. So here's an example that really grounds this. When you're calling in the one, when you're looking for your romantic partner, that person has already been born, right? You know, if you're at least in your early 20s, I guarantee you that 99.9% of the time is already alive. And then the manifesting aspect, the calling in, the accessing what is already for you is a matter of you getting yourself in the right energetic state so that you can be ready to meet that person and also so that you can see what's already been right in front of you. I've heard many, many stories where somebody is looking for their partner and it turns out, let's say for even a decade, and it turns out that person was living next door to them the entire time. But because they were not in the frequency that was a match for connecting with their person, they never even saw them before, even though they were right there. Okay? So I just wanted to put that piece in as a little warm up. Let's talk about what happened that inspired this episode. So a friend of mine reached out. She wanted some support around something regarding money and the nervous system. And she wanted to make sure she wasn't making decisions out of old ancestral fear and scarcity patterning that lives in her body that was inherited. And she wanted to make sure that she was making smart decisions as a strategic, powerful businesswoman around some expenses, not as essentially a scared child. She reached out to me and I had some suggestions for her. And then this morning she texted and she said, I have a God moment to report. And that God moment was that something had transpired with the expense in question. It was something that was an expense that was increasing, and she was feeling a little scared about that. And because she had reached out, she had activated God, she had activated the universe, she had raised her hand to say, "Hey, I'm available for help here. I'm turning this over to something greater than myself to get support." And overnight, something transpired where the person that she was spending this money with, the expense in question, changed their proposal to make it easier for her to say yes, to make it fit in a more aligned way with what she wanted to spend. She hadn't even had a conversation with that person, but here's what she did do. She reached out to me for support, and I also believe she prayed about it. Here's what I've heard over and over and over again from people who are mystics, people who communicate with angels, people who have done tremendous study in the spiritual realms. What they say over and over again is that the angels, God, our ancestors, and all the unseen support that's available cannot help us unless we ask. So the fallacy of humanity, one of the biggest mistakes we make, our obsession with rugged individualism. And this is a very American thing. So I understand that other cultures have far more of a collective consciousness, and it's far more focused on the we rather than the I. But certainly in the United States of America, where I live and where I was born and where I was conditioned, there is a real sense of celebration, of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, being quote unquote self-made, and doing things on your own. We deify those who do things on their own against all odds, when actually there are not only human resources available, not only humans who can support us at all times, but also tremendous unseen support. And humans cannot help us unless they know we need support, right? I couldn't have possibly supported my friend who had texted me for some help without her asking and without her letting me know, "Hey, I'm having trouble with something. Can you help me?" Same thing, by asking me for support, by reaching out, she was signaling, "I am available for support. I am helpable." How often are you just sort of rolling things around in your mind, thinking that the only way you're going to get out of whatever XYZ situation, or the only way you're going to quote unquote figure something out, is by doing it alone with your own intellect, right? We so over celebrate thought. We so over celebrate, I think, the intellect. We so over celebrate individualism. And all of those things, right? An over celebration of doing things alone and an over celebration of the intellect as superior to any other kind of wisdom, like intellectual wisdom that, book learning, academic learning, um, cerebral intelligence. The overemphasis on individualism and the intellect creates a profound sense of disconnection, loneliness, and scarcity. Why? Because scarcity is rooted in our forgetfulness about how interconnected we are. Scarcity stems from a disconnection from ourselves, from the planet, from nature, from each other, and from God. When we're in our minds, when we're overthinking, when we're in our minds alone, our ego starts to get overinflated, and our ego begins to tell us that we are the only ones we can depend on, which is extremely lonely and extremely scary and absolutely can activate nervous system survival patterns of fear, contraction, constriction. And the irony there is when we feel alone and we activate survival patterning, our ability to think straight, our ability to see possibilities, our ability to be creative, and our intellect actually diminishes. So the very act of trying to do it all alone and also trying to do it all with our mind leads us to being in a state where we are less effective in problem solving because our brain does not work nearly as well when we're in survival patterning, when we feel alone. Human beings are herd animals. Our survival depends on community. When we feel disconnected from community, when we feel alone, when we feel like it's all on us and we have to solve things alone in our mind, it creates a sense of lack. It creates a sense of scarcity. And lack and scarcity are the lie of scarcity, the lie of lack is actually rooted in the very same thing as the lie of separation. What do we do about this? Well, we do exactly what my friend said. We reach out. We reach out. We say, hey, God, angels, ancestors, universe, whoever you connect with, goddess, Mother Earth, I am not able to solve this on my own. I need help. And that also might include texting a friend. That might also include picking up the phone and calling someone because God, the universe, source, works through other people as well. We are all tiny, beautiful fractals of light. We're all extensions of divine energy, divine radiant substance, as Catherine Ponder says. And so by reaching out, whether it's via a text, reaching out to a friend on the phone, sending a DM, reaching out for help, is one of the greatest signs of wisdom, not weakness, wisdom. When you ask for help, when you reach out, you are signaling that you have the wisdom to know that there's a lot more going on than your tiny self with a small s, and that actually if we plug back into source with a capital S through our connection with others, through our connection with nature, through our connection with community, through our connection with God, through our connection with our bodies, when we reconnect, that is the smartest thing we can do because actually that level of outreach, that ability to know that it is not up to us, is resourcefulness. It's actually wildly efficient. It's actually so much smarter, and it's a clear way to work smarter, not harder, when we are willing to get our ego out of the way, the part of us that has been conditioned to believe that we are more valuable, more worthy, more morally superior if we do things alone and if we don't receive help, and really know the truth of it, which is we are not separate. None of us was meant to do this alone. We are stronger together, not only with our human family, but also when we call in the unseen and we ask to be fully supported. But we have to remember that people and the divine cannot support us unless we ask. So today, I'm curious, what do you need help with and who can you ask for support? Can you have a conversation out loud with God on the way home from dropping your kids off at school? I've been doing that a lot lately. Can you ask the angels to support you? Can you call upon your ancestors? Can you phone a friend? Can you send a text? Please, please, please hear me now. Your prosperity depends on you breaking out of the illusion of separation. Prosperity requires flow. Flow requires the movement of resources, financial and otherwise, between you and other people, other organizations, and the energetic flow between you, the divine, planet Earth, and other human being. So who are you going to ask for help today? How are you going to signal your wisdom and say, I am wise enough to know that this is bigger than me, and I am ready and willing and open to receive insights, resources, support, both from the seen and the unseen. Help me now. I am now available for support. Thanks for listening in today. Send a text, say a prayer, ask for help. That is the smartest thing you could possibly do to solve any and all problems. None of us were meant to do this alone. Let's dissolve the lie of scarcity. Let's dissolve the lie of separation, and let's do it together. See you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Plenty. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review. That's one of the best ways that you can ensure to spread the abundance of plenty with others. You can even text it to a friend and tell them to listen in. And if you want even more support to expand your abundance, head over to katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs, where you can grab my free money breakthrough guide that details the biggest money breakthroughs from some of the top earning women I know, plus a mini lesson accompanying it with my own biggest money breakthroughs and a nervous system healing tool for you to expand your abundance. Again, that's over at katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs. See you next time.